happy November, end of the year. Things are kind of winding down. Let me know, well, hopefully they're winding down. Let me know in the comments how you're doing, where you're coming in from. Are things kind of winding down, or it kind of feels like this year we're just into the end of the year is kind of kind of how I'm feeling. I'm hoping not everyone is feeling that way. But let me know. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited about this conversation. It was this time last year that I actually went to my first conference, business conference, called the Permission Slip Conference in Knoxville. And that is where I met LaShonda and a whole bunch of other awesome people. But LaShonda really stood out to me because of the way she talked about tech. And I had kind of found myself in this online tech space that I truthfully never thought I would work. I would work remotely. I never thought I would work online. I never thought I would be the person who's like, wait, try this new software. Like that just never felt right, like me. And then I heard LaShonda and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that she's speaking my language. She knows exactly what I'm talking about, because her whole keynote was about how to leverage tech so you can have more time in your real life. Which for me has always been the goal. I work from home, usually with my little ones running around, and the whole last 4 years that I've been working in this space, I have always been trying to figure out what tools I can implement so that I can have more time with my little people. And it wasn't until I heard LaShonda that I was like, oh my gosh, like tech is the way to that. The way to more time with my family, the more time in my garden, it's tech. That's what I need to be leveraging. That's how I need to kind of pivot my business so that my tech is working for me while I'm not in front of my computer. Because the last thing I want to do is be tied to my computer or my phone. And as you know, that's always hard when you're working that remotely. So LaShonda gave a brilliant, beautiful keynote about how she does this, how she works a 20-hour work week. What? I love it. I love it. And how she like leverages affiliate marketing and YouTube. So as you're coming in, please ask questions. She is an open book. I love how transparent she's been with me and everybody in her YouTube membership about how she works. So feel free to ask questions. I have my questions I'm going to ask, but I will share with you if you hop in the chat. So everybody help me welcome LaShonda. Hello. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Am I unmuted now?
You're good now.
We love that for us.
I love somebody who is muting just in case they're, behind the scenes. So I appreciate that. As my phone rang the second I hit go live, I was like, oh.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's how it is.
Life. Such is life.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about how you found your way into this tech online education world that you are so good at, by the way.
Thank you, friend. Honestly, it was necessity at first. My husband started a video production company in 2011, and we live in the mountains. We have that in common. We're mountain people. And so it's hard to find tech people in the mountains, especially people in the small business space. And so I had to do a whole lot of Googling, a whole lot of free trials to try to figure out how I could find tech tools that would help him create the business he wanted to work for. He started his business because he wanted a job in video, but that was hard to find here. And so it's like, okay, if we have the opportunity to craft that, what would it look like and what tools will be used? And so learning the process of setting up those systems for him gave me a lot of knowledge that I could turn into YouTube content later on in life. So that's where I got started.
Yes. And how did you decide, like, okay, I'm going to post things on YouTube?
Yeah. So what happened is I started getting people asking me the same questions over and over. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought, you know what? I bet I could just do one video and send everybody the link and make it real simple. And so that's where it started. And I started to realize that people I didn't know were actually watching the content. And that's when I began to go, there might be something there if other people see value in it. And I didn't tell them that I posted it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so people kind of just found their way to your channel. And I love the way you have such a fun and unique way of teaching tech that makes it like really engaging. And really like you just like get to it, which is hard to find on YouTube. So do you feel like you've kind of had to like morph as you've done more and more YouTube channels or YouTube content, or is it just you? Like, are you just that way?
Well, I think for me, it's so funny. I'll give you a really good example. So, I've had a lot of people ask me, what about wedding video? Like, why didn't you guys start with something like
Mm,
that? Because that's, more common. And
right.
I said, oh, it's just because I like hate weddings. I love mine, but it's like people drag it out. It's
Yes.
disorganized. You're asking people who've never done a large scale event to
Stress.
host a giant party, and it's
Yeah.
stressful. And so for me, is I create educational content that I want to watch. Like, what are my personal pet peeves? When
Mhm.
you go on someone's YouTube video and they're taking forever to get to the point, and you're like,
Yes.
I came here to get one question answered. When are we going to get there? And so that's part of the reason why my content is so concise, because I know that people's time is limited. I want to
Mhm.
be a good steward of their time. And so I try to make sure the topic is super clear. I hop right on in. But then I have live streams that allow me to kind of just chat and rant and respond to questions. And so if it's a pre recorded video, it's going to be very
Yeah.
much to the point. If it's live streaming, who the heck knows? We're just going to have a good time.
Yeah, and let's talk a minute because that we kind of connected on that front because we both love live streaming as a tool to connect with your audience. How long have you been live streaming? I know you go live every Monday, right?
Yeah, it's been probably, I would say almost 2 years at this point, but like every Monday was more a 2024 challenge where I'm like, okay, I think there's something here. I really enjoy it. It gives me a place to kind of land on Monday morning and go, okay, YouTube is my job. Let's go for it. And so that's
I
when I
like
started
that.
doing that, and it's gone really well.
So it's kind of like your opening of the week, and this is like you turn your brain on to like, okay, I'm working now by doing that live stream.
Mhm.
I like
Mhm. It
that.
kicks off my workday on Monday.
I love that. Yeah, and I think, I love live streaming because you get, like, instant feedback, because I know when I post, like, a more traditional video, sometimes I'm like, "Okay, like, was that good? Was that not good? Was it confusing?" And I love that sometimes while I'm live streaming, people will be like, "Wait, Shelly, what did you mean by that?" And I'm like, "Oh, wait, let me go back and clarify something," like, as I'm in the stream, which I think is really cool. And then the other thing that I super love is that my job is mostly behind the scenes. So this new like me Shelby show is big thanks to you, honestly, teaching me more about YouTube and like how I can shift my skills into more of like a YouTube space. But for me, I love being behind the scenes of really, really brilliant people and hearing conversations and kind of getting to be like, oh, that's like a good little nugget that they should repurpose. And I love that. And I've seen it work so well for smart people who are busy. That's what I'm always saying. Like, if you're busy and you have content creation on your calendar and you keep ignoring it, live streaming. Live streaming is a place for you because you're not going to overthink it. You're just going to get your thoughts out and kind of like get feedback from your audience. And then I see people take that and kind of create more, they feel more comfortable with content creation, as silly as that is. But do you feel like live streaming is like, do you do pre-recorded first and then you go to live streaming, or do you feel like live streaming then pre-recorded? Because I've seen people be super nervous about just going live, and I get it, but I also disagree. So I'm curious on your take.
Yeah, I think people have this perception that like, oh, if I can't edit it, like that freaks me
Yeah.
out, or if no one shows up, that would freak me out. I think for me, when I started to market my live streams to my email list to let them know this is the topic of the day, going live at 10, just as a reminder. People know I do that, but as a reminder, like, hey, here's something to look forward to. it really took a lot of the pressure off. And, live streaming is like a muscle. The more that you do it, the better you get. And then also, what's really fun about it is every time you end a live stream, you can go, what's one way that I can make this 1% better? And
Yeah.
then you take that moment and go, okay, it doesn't have to be flawless every time. As long as I'm getting better every single time I go live, it's good to go. And at this point, I feel like my live streams have become a whole production
Yes. Oh,
because we've
she's
continued
got
to learn.
yeah, if y'all haven't joined one of LaShonda's, you should because she's the queen of like different like videos and like it seriously looks like a production. There's like commercial breaks. It's amazing.
Well, and what's funny is I'm the one click clacking on the back end.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm trying not to look frantic on the front end, but I'm the one, clicking and everything and queuing up the videos and adding the music. But
That's
it
wild.
makes it
That's a lot.
fun. Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes it fun.
Have you ever had a live stream fail? You wanna
Mm,
talk about
that's
it?
a
Do you not
valid.
wanna
No, so okay, so it wasn't really a fail, but it certainly was like it felt like it could have been a fail.
Yeah.
I think anytime that you have multiple guests,
Mm.
it's like, okay, you have a structure, you have a plan, but things just kind of happen. And so you try to get people on a few minutes before to test, tech and whatnot. But sometimes things happen and people are a little bit late. And it's like, well, how do you pad for time? Do you not do it? What do you say? And so I think that's the part that's like, okay, you need to have a backup plan that if I don't see them by the time I hit go live, what do you
Yes.
do? And just knowing that in the back of your mind, it helps you to pivot if you need to. And so I think having a good plan keeps it from being a full out fail and just a little anxious moment. And so
Mhm.
that's kind of what I do on the back end.
That's hilarious because I have had shows where we have hit go live and the guest isn't there. And I work with Kim Kalb is her name and she is brilliant on the live streaming. But I remember one episode we went live and it was like 5 minutes without a guest that she was introducing that we were talking about and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like what are we going to do?" She was so cool, calm and collected though. I was like, "Okay." And she just went into like her own thing. It was wild, but I think that a lot of times folks are like, "Oh, I'm going to have a guest because I feel like that will be easier for me." I don't know if it is. Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, there's no way that I could do a live guest every week.
Yes,
There's no way. And I think too
so
there's
much.
there's a different dynamic. I think people really enjoy getting to know you as a
Yes.
content creator. And so I think yes, you can bring in people as guests to kind of bring their audience to your platform, but ultimately like people want to connect with you. They've subscribed because they like you. And so
Yes.
when it's too guest heavy, I think it's hard to kind of figure out what the identity of the show is supposed to be.
That is super interesting you bring that up because that's a struggle I have often with my clients is they're like, "I don't wanna go live by myself." Like, I enjoy the conversation, and I'm like, "Yes, but people want to learn from you, and you have so much to teach from your content that is super easy." Like, certain people that have newsletters that they've written for years and years, so much you can pull from that for, like, a live conversation where you're talking and teaching. And then people like you who have taught a ton of things, it's really cool to have somebody teach and then also be answering your questions in real time as like me, the person joining on the other side. I love when it's just me and you and like 100 other people in the comments, but like it feels a lot more personal and like fun that way. So I am curious, I do want to talk to you a little bit about affiliate marketing and how you have woven so beautifully that into your business because I love that I know you the tech tools, I don't Google things anymore. I go, what does LaShonda use for this? And I get on Bootstrap Biz and I'm like, okay, what does she use for her email marketing? What does she use for like her, I think I used, I can't remember what it was called, but for the music, the background music,
Oh
that
yeah,
kind of thing I
probably
learned from you.
premium beat, yeah. Mhm.
Yep, I learned from you. So how have you did you get started with affiliate marketing? And then later on, like how did you narrow down which tools you were gonna use and not use and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so funny thing, I actually had a call this morning with the new tech tool. And so it's
Mhm.
always that interesting thing of, well, new to me, I should say, not
Yeah,
brand new.
right.
But had the conversation, and it's always interesting to explain my philosophy behind which tech tools I choose to talk about, because every content creator is different. And, every creator has their own preferences. And so for me, I've begun to realize that people treat the brands that I talk about almost like an endorsement from me, that like, oh, like
100%.
LaShonda's not going to talk about it if it's trash. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
100%. Yes.
so because I do feel like a trusted tech partner with
Mhm.
my audience, I'm not going to just talk about whatever just because I learned about it. I'm going to look into the reviews. I'm going to set up the free trials. I'm going to try to
Mhm.
meet somebody who works for the company. Like, and I think that's what is really fun about how my brand has evolved, is that I know faces behind these logos.
Yes.
You say a company and I'm like, oh yeah, Ryan at Canva, or
Yeah.
Josh at Groove or whatever. And so what that does is, not only does that help me to be more educated on the tech tool, but if we run into problems, I can be like, oh, I'll just ask them, you
Yes.
know?
That's
And
huge.
so I think it's a huge difference in what's happened. The entire first year that I tried to do YouTube full time, I was able to do it because the predominant amount of money that I made was coming from affiliate marketing. I didn't have to sell
Mhm.
anything to my students because of affiliate marketing. So I think when you create video content where you're really specific about who you choose to share and who you choose to endorse, it actually takes the pressure to sell off of you, because
Mm.
you can just focus on sharing and serving over selling. And that's really helped me a lot.
Yeah, and I love that you are transparent about that because a lot of times when I join things where I feel like people are giving a lot of value to their audience, I'm like, "Okay, what's the catch?" Like, when are they gonna say like, "Oh, okay, now to finish this project, you have to pay me $200," or whatever. It feels that way sometimes when I'm
Right.
going down the tech rabbit hole, and I remember when, I started to put the pieces together very quickly after following you, that like, "Oh, your main focus is to work with brands and then provide value to your audience." I was like, that is so brilliant. It benefits the brand, it benefits the like, audience. I was like, that's how you do it." Like, because I don't feel ever like you're, like, tricking me. I never feel tricked by you, which is
Mm.
huge for me in, like, the online, like, space. If somebody doesn't feel tricky to me, I'm like, "Here's all my money, take it all. Like, here you go." Like, but if somebody
Well,
feels
but you got
tricky,
to
I'm
be able
like,
to trust people, though. You've got to be
yeah,
able to trust people, and
I
I
do.
and I think that that's a really cool thing about having the balance between the pre-recorded content and live streaming on my channel, is people do feel like they know me.
Yes.
It's not like, I'm hiding behind some, edited video and you only
Yes.
get a curated version of me. It's like, oh no, this is what I'm actually like. You've seen me,
Yeah. We know
laughing my
you.
butt off and sharing stories about my latest Bojangles order. Like, you guys know me. And so I think that does also play a part with my content.
Yes, and Lolita, I just wanna say we're here for the live streaming, and I agree, LaShonda is the bomb. I agree 100%. But I love that because that's how I felt when I first started following you because A, I saw you at Permission Slip, and then B, I've, like, followed and, like, was joining your live streams, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're friends." Like, you didn't even know who I was, but I'm like, "That's my friend."
Well, and it was funny because it only took like a few times you showing up in the comments, and I'm like, "Who is this woman?
Yeah.
Let me go follow her," because I hadn't made the connection right
Yeah.
away between permission slip and that, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I know who you
Well,
are."
and that's what's so fun. So, like, we have, I work behind the scenes of Coffee with Kim. Kim Kaup is the host, and our community that's grown from that is so amazing. Like, I am telling you, I know people that have moved. I know where they've moved. I'm like cheering for them. Or I'm cheering for people who are looking for jobs. Like, and it's all of us in the comments. Like, it's not like it's like a connection and a community that meets and like gets together. We all know each other and we know what each other is up to, and the same is true of you and your YouTube membership. Like, there are so many folks that I've met through that I'm now like cheering for and like benefiting from their content because you've kind of like connected us all. So can you talk a little bit about your YouTube membership, how you came up with the brilliant idea, and like just share with the world because I love it.
Yeah, so Bootstrap Creators is a really cool environment for me to actually connect with the people who watch my content.
Yeah.
You know, there are some folks who just want to do a YouTube coaching session, get in, get out, their time is limited. But there are a lot of people that just want to be in a supportive environment where they can learn, they can grow, and just not feel alone. And so I absolutely love it because I have a lower tier called the Star Students as well. And so that gives people the opportunity to kind of get a taste of what's going on. But those coaching calls and our community tab, it's so wild to see how the members help each other and how you
Mm.
all are doing business in different ways. But the heart behind it is the same. Like you guys are all servant-minded people. And it's really cool to see that not only are you connected with me because of how I am as a person, I'm attracting like-minded people. And so we were
Yes.
talking about this on Monday. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking on Monday about how members feel comfortable hiring other members
Yes.
because they know we do business the same way. Does that make sense?
Yes, I have noticed that and have also loved that because it's like, well, if they trust and follow things that LaShonda is saying, like, then we're more alike than like somebody I would just randomly find on LinkedIn, maybe. You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
created like a really cool connection for all of us, and I appreciate that big time. It's been I'm not gonna lie, I joined I think it was February of this year, and I was like, "I don't know how long I'll be able to do this, but, like, I'm loving LaShonda stuff, and I just wanna keep learning." And now I'm like it's just, like, so every time, like, I need just, like, a little I have, like, a block of learning every week, and so every week I go into, like, the library and I choose something that, like, I enjoy from your content, and it's been really cool because not only am I learning from you, I'm finding other people and seeing those faces behind tech, like we talk about, that's huge for me because then when I see Josh with Groove or whatever, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I feel more comfortable using this tool because I've met him through LaShonda." You know what I mean?
Well,
Which
and
is
I think that's what's so fun about the environment that I've created is there are so many moments to make introductions, right?
mhm.
Bringing in people like Austin yesterday, his workshop was incredible about pricing. And it was like, okay, maybe a lot of people didn't know Austin before that workshop, but like I got emails afterwards being like, oh my gosh, that workshop was fire. Like it's cool for me to be able to be that, ambassador on behalf of the membership and going out and saying, hey, friend, like I would love to share you with my community and then allowing you all to meet people that maybe you wouldn't have connected with otherwise. So
Yeah,
it's been
totally.
really cool to have those workshops too, to be like me be behind the scenes so I can learn as well. So I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Okay, and can you give just, like, a little overview of, the difference between, like, star students and the membership? Because I love how you've, like, priced it, and I love how you have, provided value because it feels again, it doesn't feel tricky. Like, it feels like this is there's just integrity through your entire your work, your values, like, you just show up as LaShonda, and it's I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but, like, it's inspiring and it's really cool to see, in this space.
Well, first of all, thank you so much because it's funny. I need to go back and maybe write that into some messaging on my site because that
Yeah,
word keeps coming up a lot is integrity. And I think online, that's what you want. You want to feel like even if you can't be in the same room as the person you are virtually working with, that you feel like you can trust them and that they are who they say they are. So that's super important to me. And, really taking a step back and saying, I don't have to do business the way everybody else does. I can do it in a way that feels aligned. And for me, Bootstrap is advice isn't just about, budget friendly advice. It's me being the mentor that I wish I had had 10 years ago
yeah,
to answer some of these questions. And so I understand that for a lot of people, especially now, when you're in that bootstrapping phase, budgets can be tight, but you
Yeah.
still want to learn, you still want to implement, new strategies. And so having star students gave people the opportunity to just subscribe to the workshops. Like if you just want to pop in for the workshops and just be connected, and really if you just want to invest in me as a way to support me, come on in and be a star student. But then if you're looking for more community and more advice about YouTube and seeing how I'm running my YouTube business on the back end, then Bootstrap Creators makes more sense. And so kind of having that opportunity for people to get connected either way has been really helpful, and it allows people more options if they want to connect in a deeper way. So I've really enjoyed it, and it's kind of wild looking back and be like, oh my gosh, we just did our 11th workshop this year, and it's like they've all been so good that I kind of want to like circle back and refresh my memory, because it's been incredible to see how much value has come through the community this year.
Yes, 100%. And you have all of that listed on your website, right? LaShondaBrown.com.
Yes,
Pricing.
LaShondaBrown.com is going to be everything I've got
Uh-huh.
going on. BootstrapBizAdvice.com goes directly to the membership.
See, I tried to pull it up because I was going to put it in here, but it goes directly to, because I'm logged in. So it goes
Mhm.
directly to that. But I'm telling you, she has amazing guests. She has amazing tools that she shares with us, and like kind of like breaks down how she uses it. I literally made my intro video based off of one of your YouTube. I think I can't remember if it was in the membership or not. But I literally, you and me created it together, whether or not you know that. I paused you, I did things, and then I came back.
Oh, I love it. I love
So
that.
I made my intro, and I have an outro that I use when it's just me solo, that I made with you through the membership, basically, which was really cool because I also, in this space of live streaming, had really struggled to see other people like other people will live stream, but they don't do all like the things, right? And so I really loved the
I
things
do
that
the
you were
literal
doing.
most. Guys,
You
yeah,
do.
I do the
Yeah.
literal most.
Yes. You think I do a lot. I don't do anything compared to what LaShonda is doing. And I love it because it's super cool. And it really jogs me like when I'm talking to clients about like different ways we can promote things without it being like so blatant. It's really awesome to like, like these little videos that you play as you break up different sections, is really, really cool. And it's just, you're providing so much value, and I appreciate it so much. My last question for you: how do you know when it's like time to say goodbye to a tool? How do you break
Oh,
up with a
girl.
tool? Yep.
Child. Okay. Ooh. Okay, I won't name names. I'm gonna give
You don't
two
want names.
examples of some
Yep.
breakups.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You never know.
Uh-uh.
I can circle back. But one particular tech tool years ago was a tool that we were using for invoicing.
Yeah.
And they grew over time. We were kind of like early adopters. I tend to like have a pulse on that stuff. And they grew to a point where they drastically raised their rates. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like more than double. It was crazy. And so I really had to take a step back and say, am I going to pay all this money just to send an invoice? Like,
Mhm.
you've lost me there. And so I reached out to the staff and I said, hey, we've been a paying customer. I think at that time it was like at least 3 or 4 years. Can you grandfather us in at the rate
Mhm.
that we've been at? We'd love to stay with you guys, but the new rate just doesn't really align with how we use the tool. And they were like, nah, we're sticking with this. And for me, that was just a catalyst, because every tech company doesn't have to do that. But if there's no wiggle room at all, it
Mhm.
kind of makes you take a step back and go like, interesting. Okay. So do you value the relationship or do you not? And so that led to finding some new tech tools. And had it not been for that season, probably wouldn't have found out about some other partners that I have.
Mhm.
And so I think when you start to feel that friction with your tech tool, give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you missed an email, maybe you miss, some verbiage somewhere. Don't be afraid of reaching out and putting in a support ticket and asking them, hey, I just would like some clarity on this. Because sometimes they'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, you're totally right.
Mhm.
Let me give you a code for XYZ. But that particular instance was one where I was like, wow, I don't feel valued. And that's not
Yeah.
good with your tech tools. So in that case, said, bye bye.
Mhm.
But then in another case, you outgrow tech tools as well. And I
Yes.
think that's an important thing to communicate, that maybe when you're bootstrapping, you start out with the freemium model and you're like, okay, this is great. But then you get to a point where your business has grown, where you really need to start automating more or having more
Yeah.
integrations. And so don't get so attached to what you've always done that you
Oh,
don't
that's so
phase tools
hard.
out. It's tough
Yeah.
starting over with something new, but at the same time, if you outgrow it and it's very clear to you that you've outgrown
Yes.
it, then you start doing all these things to try to accommodate the tech tool that you're paying for. So just being comfortable to say, okay, maybe once a year, twice a year, just reevaluate, what am I paying for? How much does it cost? Does it still fit my needs? And then, be willing to break up and look for other options. And that's why I kind of try to stay on top of what's new.
Yeah.
I don't care about saying this one, I'm trying to break up with Zoom just
Yeah.
because I've done so many Zoom calls. I'm like, there's got to be another option. Like, there's got to be a different way. And that's how I started leveraging StreamYard webinars and using
Yes.
Butter. And so, if you start to feel friction with the tool, be willing to break up. It's okay.
Well, and my thing with butter too is like, I know the person behind, when I know somebody
Yeah.
behind the tool, I'm like, well, they wouldn't do something like that. Whereas like maybe with Zoom, I don't know anybody at Zoom and it feels like, oh, y'all are just trying to get me. Like I feel, and then when I have more of like a relationship, even if like I don't actually have a relationship with them, they just post content. I'm like, oh, okay, like I know the face behind the tech tool, which for me is, I guess I'm kind of silly that way, but it's just like if I know who's behind it and can kind of get a read on it, I feel much better about paying them more money. I like if
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, we're going to upgrade because of this." I'll be like, "Oh, okay." Like I feel more comfortable with that than if it's a tool that feels like they're already, monopolize the space and they're just trying to squeak out more and more. It's like, and there's no value being added. It's just, but it's so hard for me. It's so hard for me to switch up my tools and
Mm,
decide, okay, I need to try something different. But I also appreciate that you provide so many for me to try because then I'm like, okay, like at least I have a space where I can like kind of try different tools versus just going to Google and being like, best invoicing tools. Like I kind of have like a place to go off of. So
oh,
yeah.
for sure. And I think that the last thing I do want to share too, just because again, I won't name the names, but you'll see it soon. You'll also have a situation where competing tech companies will merge. And then
Yes.
that just throws everything into the abyss because you're like, okay, I signed up for this service because I was connected to this person. But now that you're merging, what's the new company going to be like? And you see that
Yeah.
with banks a lot. That happened. We used to bank with BB&T, and then they merged with SunTrust and became Truist. And I'm like, what does Truist mean? And what does
Yeah.
this mean for me? So I think when it comes to business, it's constantly evolving,
Yeah.
right? The tech tools are constantly changing. And so just being nimble, being okay with, okay, maybe at the end of the year, that's your free trial time. That you're like, okay, I got
Yeah.
a little time on my hands,
I like that.
let's
Yeah.
non-committal, let's play around, let's explore. The last thing you want to do is to wait until something breaks to switch up
Yes.
your tools.
I've done that. Do not recommend.
Yeah. It's not fun. It's not fun.
0 stars. Not fun at all.
Yeah.
And especially where I like this idea of just, like, kind of playing around with different tools, so if something does become more of, like, that emergency, you already have some familiarity with, like, different tools that you could, kind of switch your stuff to, so I like that idea a lot of just having, like, a designated time to kind of play with different tech tools. I'm gonna be doing that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the last week of the year is great for that.
Yeah.
Between Christmas and New Year, no one wants to work. So that's a
Yeah.
great time to just explore and play.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I appreciate you so, 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 so much. And I love to just sing your praises to anybody who will listen because anytime YouTube gets brought up or tech tools or affiliate marketing, I'm like, here's who you need to go. Here's who you need to go talk to. Here's the content you need to consume. So I appreciate all that you're sharing everywhere.
Oh, thank you so much, friend. I appreciate that.
Okay, everybody, please connect with LaShonda. Do you want them to subscribe on YouTube, LinkedIn, both, all the places?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Bootstrap this device, and I'd love for you to follow me on LinkedIn, trying to get the numbers up so I can say bye bye Instagram. So I would
Yes.
love for you to follow me on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect, perfect. And always, her website is a gold mine of so many different things that we weren't able to cover today. So go to lashondabrown.com for anything there. And I'm telling y'all, if you want to join me in the membership, it is 100% worth it. So thank you so much. And we will see you. I will see you soon next week for our coaching call.
Sounds like
All
a
right.
plan.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye everyone.